Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming News. What's in the news today? Nintendo and your butt. All right, before we get into it, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, notifications, all those good little things that help keep you up to date with the things we like to talk about, video games. All right, so this is kind of a hodgepodge of info from Nintendo. So you may or may not have heard, but The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom are getting achievements on Nintendo Switch 2. But that's not all. Both The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom are getting Nintendo Switch 2 versions for the new console alongside the in-game upgrades. Nintendo's adding a number of additional features through the new Zelda Notes option in its Nintendo Switch app, including achievements, which I think me and Nick are kind of surprised they just now put this in. So it's been around. Achievements have been around for a while. So the Nintendo Switch app, formerly known as the Prince, or formerly known as Nintendo Switch Online app, will get an update adding Zelda Notes, a game-specific service exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 versions of both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. This app was shown off in Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, allowing players to use GPS-style navigation to reach landmarks in the Zelda games. For achievements, the app will track your play data and allow players to earn in-app medals based on those records. These account for opening chests, earning rupees, probably, breaking pots, and more. In the achievements section, Nintendo lists categories such as quest and adventures cleared, shrines of light clear, locations visited, so on and so forth. Alongside tracking those numbers, the app will also let you see how you match with other players on a global scale. Other features of the Zelda Notes app include a daily bonus option for helpful resources, a voice memories sections which adds more stories and lore, so on and so forth. Zelda's duology for the second time. Excuse me. These do seem like handy tools, especially geared towards people playing through the Zelda duology the second time on the Switch 2. The Nintendo Switch 2 has a launch date for June 5th, 2025. The Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom will have a Switch 2 editions for launch alongside a slew of other games, both new and fresh, blah, blah, blah. So, what that article didn't also bring up, though, was there's fees along with upgrading your Zelda games. Both of those, if you're already on them, are going to have $10 upgrades. That does not include DLC. Now, I believe the other game I was referring to coming out with the Switch is another $10 fee. And it's for a demo. So as a backlash against Nintendo's $10 Switch welcome tour, Reggie Fils Anime tweets the story of Wii Sports Pack-In from IGN. And everyone knows the point he's trying to make. So former Nintendo boss of America, Reggie Fils Anime, has pointed to the story of the Wii Pack-In game Wii Sports in a tweet since the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour was announced. The Welcome Tour is basically a, what's the Bot Boy game from PlayStation?
Astrobot.
Astrobot, yes. It's basically Nintendo's version of Astrobot. It's a little tech game, little demo thing. You can run around on the Switch just like you could on the PlayStation controller and blah, blah, blah. The problem is this tech demo is $10. So another $10 fee to add into your purchase if you wanted to do such a thing. So amid the fury of the $450 price for the Switch 2, the Mario Kart's $80 price, which is a load of crap, there was also shock at Nintendo's decision to charge for interactive instruction manual Welcome Tour. Nintendo revealed Nintendo's Switch 2 Welcome Tour during its Nintendo Direct. Its game set to launch alongside the Switch 2 in June. It offers a guided tour of the console itself in a game form. So it's a virtual expedition of the new hardware. Per Nintendo, through tech demos, minigames, and other interactions, players will get to know the system inside and out in ways they may never have known about otherwise. So people are properly pissed off about this $10 fee that they're trying to charge you for it. It's causing a lot of people to be really upset with all the pricing and all the what seems to be unfair pricing of games, the console, and pretty much everything Nintendo's doing right now. So let's jump over to Nick, find out what he thinks. Has Nintendo pretty well hit the PlayStation pamphlet on how to do this, or what do you think?
Yeah, they read their guidebook for the PlayStation 3, I think is what they read.
Yes.
A little old guidebook, but they read one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Zelda, it's what's weird about this one is like, just to get some clarification on that one. Breath of the Wild is in tiers. Like you said, there's a $10 upgrade. They are included in the Nintendo Plus expansion. If you have that, you do get the upgrades for free. If you're a part of that online expansion club thing. If you don't, though, what's the weird thing about it too, or the thing that doesn't make sense to me, is they are going to sell Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 versions, right? So they're not, well, they are, but they're basically labeled as these games for the Switch 2. It's not the Switch 1 version that, whatever. I mean, it is, but it's basically that. From my understanding, what comes on the cart, though, is just the regular game with the upgrade, right? It's not like an upgraded version of it in a sense, like it's a different version. It's just like that game plus the upgrades. So you're kind of buying them together in a pack, right? But the thing about it, too, is it doesn't include the DLCs for either games, which is super odd. Because like if you're going to resell these for the Switch 2, why not make them like complete editions where it's the upgraded version as well as the DLC? That makes it a better buying option for a consumer, right? They might be like, oh, well, I never got, maybe they got a Switch 2 and they're like, well, I want to play, I have Tears of the Kingdom or whatever, but I never got the DLC. And oh, cool, I can buy this pack-in that's the Switch 2 version, and it comes with a DLC and everything. Maybe I'll go that route, right? And that would be more of an incentive. Now it's not an incentive, right? Now that incentive is gone. So it's a really weird thought process for Nintendo when it comes to that stuff. And as far as the Welcome Tour game, like why that's not a pack-in game with the console? I mean, because it's basically like you're playing like a Mii in a virtual like Switch 2 environment, learning about the console in a sense, kind of like you said, like the Astrobot, kind of like a tech demo, learning about the console, learning about the different aspects of the Switch 2 console. So it's like, why not make it a pack-in? Who's going to pay $10 to play this, to learn about a console you're already playing on, right? If it's a pack-in, that makes a lot more sense. Again, it gives people incentive to buy the machine because then they already have a game out the gate. And then, they can play this pack-in that teaches them all about the console they just bought. So it's a really odd thing.
Yeah, Reggie, his tweet pointed out how he got them to put the Wii Sports into the Wii U version, and Nintendo, fought him on it, but they did it, and that was one of the most popular things. I mean, people still play it today. I mean, it was in nursing homes and all that. I think that's one of those things that really helped sell the Wii. I mean, I really do. That's what got it in more hands. Well, there's a free game with it. Sweet. You don't get free games anymore. You don't get free games at launch. You don't get a second controller at launch for free. The Game Academy has been shortchanging people, the gamers, for quite a while now, and this is just another thing that they're doing. To milk out the system. Nintendo doesn't put shit on sale hardly ever, and if they do, it's $5 here, maybe 10. And I think they're just trying to milk it up. I think they have a bad case of, like you said, PlayStation 3, because the Switch sold so well, and it did. And it's a great little system for when it launched. It's old in the tooth now. It's got issues. And I think they've got such a big head that, our fan base is so, fervorous that they're going to buy it no matter what. Yeah,
And they probably will.
And I think they had the same thought with the Wii U. So
Right.
that didn't work out too goddamn well either. So don't get me wrong. Am I going to get a Switch 2? Hell yeah. Am I going to get it at launch? Hell no. I'm not going to do it. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a $10 fee here, a $10 fee there, especially like you pointed out, the DLCs. It just doesn't make sense.
No,
they would definitely garner more sales, I believe, putting in the DLC packs.
Yeah, for sure. And the welcome tour not being a pack in is just such an odd thing, right? Like, because it's not like Astrobot was, it was a tech demo for the console, but it also was a full-fledged game. And they really didn't, I don't remember if PlayStation, that wasn't a packing game, but I don't think Astrobot, the original one, well, was that a packing game?
Yeah. It came with the console. It was
the original one
download.
Was, right?
Yes. Yeah. 2, the Astrobot 2 was a full-fledged $70 game, or was it $50? I don't remember.
But the original one was free, right? The Playroom, Astro's Playroom was free.
Playroom.
Yeah, because I explored the console. It was the same idea as what this is with the tour, is exploring the console, showing you the different stuff they have, like the camera and the new Joy-Con 2s and the HD Rumble 2 and the magnetic strips and all that stuff. But it's weird if you're going to say like, hey, we have this, but you got to buy the console and then pay $10 to experience a tour, right? And it's like, okay, then I just don't see people really buying it, right? The pack-in tour, the not the Switch. I mean the welcome tour. Like, no one's gonna go out there and purchase it.
Well, think of it this way: from what I have seen of this welcome tour, it literally is a welcome tour. Yeah. It explains how the Rumble system works. It explains how the magnets on. Okay,
it's like the manuals we used to get back in the day, right? But it's a more visual manual, and it's like, instead of it coming with a manual, now it's like, it's almost like you go out and buy something, whatever, and it doesn't come with any instructions, and you have to pay extra to get the instructions.
Yes, exactly.
Right. It's kind of like that concept, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why do I need to pay extra to get instructions on how to use the item that you are selling me?
Yeah. Nintendo is doing some weird crap with the Switch too, and it's going to hurt them in the long run. Now, the whole tariffs thing, I understand that. I understand there's, fear and skepticism and everything like that. I do. But I don't think it prompts some of the decisions they're making at all. I think the original decision of the prices was all on them. I don't think there was a tariff issue whatsoever at that point.
I think the prices originally too. And I think you're right when you say, like, I think Nintendo with the Switch, just like with PlayStation 2 onto PlayStation 3, they got too big for their britches terminology, where, and PlayStation came across that same thing, and so did Xbox. Xbox did the same thing with the 360 onto the Xbox One, right?
Yep.
These companies get their heads get too big, and they think that they're invincible, and then they pull some really bad moves, and it hurts them badly.
Oh yeah.
Right. And some companies can turn it around, right? Like PlayStation turned it around.
Yeah,
as far as sales and stuff like that.
Yeah, at the end of PS3, they were down really bad. They came up, and I think they maybe even surpassed a little bit.
I think they sold more than 360 in the end. But
in the end,
Microsoft had a big head too, and that really hurt them, which they didn't really get. They weren't unfortunately, Microsoft didn't learn its lesson and just kept shooting themselves in the foot all the way. Sony did learn their lessons after the PS3 and reverse course,
Briefly.
which helped them with the PS4 and the PS5. Now with the PS6, that might be a different story, right? We'll have to see. But
no competition for them, so they're pretty much going to do what they want.
But Nintendo, I feel like this time, you're kind of right with the whole Wii and Wii U type thing, where the Wii was kind of like, it was so successful, it went to their head, and then they put out the Wii U, which did not do very well for them, which I think was a great system. But again, it just didn't do well for them. And then they came out with the Switch because they're like, okay, we need to go back to the drawing board, which did really well for them. But now we have the Switch 2, which is kind of following in the same logic as what happened with the Wii U or the PS3 or the Xbox One.
Yeah. I honestly, there's lots of things about Nintendo this time around that are aggravating, worrisome, and so forth. I don't think they should have made a Switch 2 myself. I think they should have went with a full-fledged console and made a better portable version of the original Switch and had its own dedicated, portable setup.
Well, here's the thing that
but that's an old man gamer opinion.
Well, I made that. You weren't on last weekend when me and Pat were talking about the Switch 2, and I made in one of the videos, I made the kind of the thought of the Switch 2 originally not being a handheld hybrid. And the reason why is because I said, if you noticed in the trailer presentation for the Switch 2, when they showed it off, it was mainly people in their houses playing the Switch docked, using chat and video, various things like that, right? And playing with their friends online. It wasn't, because the Switch 1 was all about taking it portable.
Yeah.
Right. The Switch 2, they really didn't talk about the portability. They did in the fact of like they showed off the new
size
kickstand. They showed off the new kickstand, right?
Ooh.
And then how it's different from the original one, but they didn't show like, because if you remember back the original Nintendo, like all the trailer reels for the Nintendo Switch was people like going to a party and then someone whips out a Switch and they're like, oh my God, and then everybody gets together, and they were going to have a drunken orgy night, but now they're just going to play Mario Party. Right.
Oh,
and so
man, orgy night's canceled. Break out the
bring up Mario Kart here, everyone. But this one was all like, everyone's at home. Everyone's using the video thing. Right. And that's another thing too. Like they don't have an attachment that goes onto the Switch. So you can't take that and show your video while you're in handheld mode. So you have to be docked.
I bet you, because the way, and correct me if I'm wrong, the camera on there wasn't a proprietary camera. You could, they had a Nintendo branded version, but
yeah, I don't know if they've said you can use any though. I don't know if they've said that.
So I was thinking there was no.
I mean, they're USB-C connected, so yes, technically you could use any, but that depends on the software, right? If the software allows for it, it might have some sort of thing where Nintendo's own or manufacturers that manufacture for them, right? Authorized sellers or developers make certain aspects for them, kind of like the Piranha Plant one, which is not theirs, but that's a different company that.
That's right. I forgot about the Piranha Plant camera, which only does like 480.
It only does 480, where the original one or the one for the Switch 2 does 1080.
1080. Yeah.
So, but the thing is you're not even, again, the whole point of handheld is, even if you had that, you're not going to take it with you, right? You would think they would have introduced for taking it on the go, one that just like connects and attaches to the top of the Switch 2. So that way you can use it in handheld mode and it's in your face, right? You don't have to have this other device. But they really showed the aspect of the Switch 2 as being more of a home device than a mobile device, right? And I feel like, and this again is all like, conspiracy theory stuff, really. But I feel like Nintendo, I don't know if Nintendo wanted to make another handheld hybrid. I think they wanted to go back to a more traditional console, but didn't because the Switch did so well.
Yeah.
Right. And so they made it the Switch 2 instead of making a home device. Right. And that's why the I say that's why. And then again, that's more conspiracy. I think that's why a lot of the initial trailer for it and the presentation for it was more centered around using it at home, docked, than it was taking it on the go.
Yeah. Well, one of the things they promoted fairly heavy is the group or family aspect of the gaming. So, I mean, you can't do that on the go.
Right.
I mean, but on the original Switch, they showed off quite a bit of that too, where, the quick draw game and all those things. So,
and they didn't show that a lot on this one, right? They didn't show a lot of the Joy-Con games like that, like 1-2 Switch or any. I mean, but granted, a lot of those games didn't really. They didn't really make a lot of those games for the Switch, so the whole Joy-Con like 2-player Joy-Con thing really didn't hit off for Nintendo when it came to that.
Was the 1-2 Switch, was that a free launch game?
No.
Okay.
It's a pay for.
Okay. See, I couldn't remember if it was because we played it, but I don't.
It was like that party game, but you had to. Or I think we played the demo maybe, but it was that party game where each person had one of the Joy-Cons and they had different like little mini party games.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
But if you think about it, not a lot of games on the Switch utilize the Joy-Cons in that way, right? They used them as a controller, but they didn't use them as a gimmick. So that aspect kind of left the Switch, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and ever since PS3 360 era, every goddamn console launch has some gimmicky stuff for their controllers that they fade away in 6 months. I mean,
well, it's like even using the Switch 2 Joy-Cons as a mouse. It's like me and Pat were talking about it last weekend, and it's like why didn't you just make a mouse peripheral? Like who wants to use a Joy-Con as a mouse?
In one. And if it works, it works. I mean, and I could see certain games working.
Certain games like Civilization that's coming out. Civilization 7, that's coming out for the Switch. So that would be a really good one to use the mouse with. But again, it would be a little bit more difficult depending on how it works, right? We have to where it would have to use it. But again, it would be a little bit more difficult to use the Joy-Con as a mouse in a, again, mobile situation, right? Because you would need a platform to put the Switch on to be able to set the mouse cursor down on. You could probably use your leg, but it probably wouldn't work as well because even, try using a regular mouse with your leg. It's not the greatest thing. So
which one?
Either one, whatever has the biggest surface area.
The third one.
But so you would still have, so again, it feels like Nintendo was going more for a dedicated sitting device than a device that's for the go.
I think you're probably closer to right on that than you are wrong. Money talks. Investors don't want to see something that's more of a risk. So
and the Switch 2 would be an easy investment, right?
Yeah, like the Wii U.
Yeah.
But I know we've gotten off kind of topic here regarding the what Nintendo's doing with these launch games and these $10 fees for the most nonsensical things and the way they're doing it on the games. Nintendo's making lots of mistakes, and I think they're burning lots of their fan base too. I don't think their fan base is as strong as Sony's. Sony fan base, they can get cornholed with a platinum trophy, and they don't care. They come back for more. Microsoft, Nintendo, I don't think their fan bases are that strong, and I'm a huge fan of Nintendo.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Nintendo too, but I mean, they're adding a lot of features that all these consoles and everything have had for years.
Yeah,
right?
3 generations.
It's like nice of you to join the rest of us, Nintendo.
Yeah, welcome to the party.
And you're still not doing it well enough. And this is another thing I brought up with Pat was they're doing a lot of online games, but it's like Nintendo's online infrastructure is probably the worst out of all of them. Their infrastructure is horrible, and it's like unless they're really putting some money and investment behind it, like I don't know how well it's going to work even with the Switch 2, because they're really riding on online play with the Switch 2, right? And especially with the voice chat and the video chat, the FaceTime portions and all that stuff. Mario Kart World is all about playing online, basically, and all that stuff. And it's like I don't know if Nintendo has the infrastructure for that.
Yeah, no, online. and you're probably right. I mean, we've played one or two Switch games online.
Yeah,
Monster Hunter, Rise.
I mean, it works. But
Rise played fine, and I don't think we had too many issues. But
I bet you money-wise, investment, server capacity, things like that, I bet you they're probably the least compared to Sony and Microsoft.
Easily,
I bet Microsoft and Sony have a much bigger online architecture than Nintendo does.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing. Hear me out. Here's the thing. Microsoft is online. Microsoft, their games are multiplayer games. That's really where their bread and butter hits.
Right.
Sony, first party, are story-driven games. They don't, I know their Call of Duty is huge, but it's the single players that get them. And Nintendo is really in that same boat. Right. Nintendo is first party and story-driven games. Now, I wonder, and I don't want to go too long into this, but I wonder if Nintendo took the fact in when designing the Switch 2 that Microsoft is swirling the ball as a console developer, as a console manufacturer. I wonder if they put thought into that so that they maybe pump up their online infrastructure a little bit to try to appease some of them, Microsoft Xbox gamers over who are just tired of Microsoft's idiotic freaking decisions. So I'd like to have been in the room and like, well, Microsoft's kind of doing this right now in the toilet bowl. Maybe we should pump up a few things over here. Maybe draw a couple of them over.
I think Nintendo's needed to pump up their online infrastructure for quite some time. So I'm hoping they did some heavy investment into it with the Switch 2. Right, really ramped up their online architecture.
Yeah, and really, it's online architecture for video games cannot be that bad now. I mean, as far as understanding it, designing it, things like that, it's expense, yes, but far as use of it, I don't think it's that bad. So I think Microsoft was smart, or Nintendo was smart. They would bring that up a bit, and you're right there. So,
anyways, one last thing before we end here. I read that they were originally going to call the Switch 2 the Super Nintendo Switch.
You're kidding.
That name was originally floating around for the Switch 2. But they didn't want it. They didn't want it to be a Wii U type thing. That was a whole thing. Because then,
I would have bought it for the title.
Right. I mean, I would have loved that too. But for, again, the average consumer, they would have thought it was like some sort of like adapter or some sort of upgrade.
Is that a Switch dongle? I mean,
just like they did with the Wii U. Is that like a new piece for
add-on?
Add-on?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and that would have happened. Unfortunately and painfully, that would have happened. But I don't think that would hurt them any more than half their decisions they're making now, anyways.
I would have loved the Super Nintendo Switch 2, though, or Super Nintendo Switch. That would have been awesome.
Yes,
as a name.
Oh, absolutely.
A pure throwback, right?
Yeah. So, I don't know what Nintendo's thinking, but they've really saddened me with the way they're doing things right now. I mean, the console cost I can get some understanding on, but the gaming prices, no, they've lost me there. So
well, they made a lot of weird choices. And check out, for anybody watching this, check out me and Pat's talk about the Nintendo Switch, the reveal, because I do, I talk about a lot of those things, especially about what we think of the Switch, and the fact that they're, one of the things is the screen is LCD and not OLED, which I thought was a weird choice.
Yeah.
Um, it was a weird thing for them to do, and some of the other things that we thought were kind of weird and strange. So,
it's building the cheapest thing, but going for the highest price possible is what they were doing. Because Nintendo don't sell consoles at loss. They don't. Microsoft does, Sony does, but Sony didn't this last time, but Nintendo does not. Nintendo is about that profit. So I'm worried about Nintendo's next generation. Let's just say that much. But you got anything else before we go? All right. So you made it to the end. Let us know what you think. Nintendo, $10 here, $10 there, $10 there. Do you care? Is it going to bother you? You're going to buy it anyways? Let us know in the comments below. Let us know if you agree with some of the things we've said. Disagree? We're cool with it. Just don't be an a-hole. We've plenty of a-holes out there. Be a b-hole. All right. Now, don't forget, hit like, share, subscribe, notifications, all those good things to help keep you up to date with us talking about video games, because that's what we love. And until next time, see ya.